Yo, what up, my bones? SilverDFanng back with more YouTube reactions. We got, another Wrestling with Regret video. Goldust's bizarre WWE journey. Goldust, aka Dustin Rhodes, is a very underrated wrestler that needs to be known more, and he should have gotten a bigger career, but because of backroom politics, he never really got to what he should have gotten. And a big part of it is Goldust. Enjoy. Yeah, fuck it, we're gonna watch it. So this is Wrestling with Regret, an intimate look at Goldust's bizarre WWE journey. Goldust is one of the most fascinating wrestling in WWE because, like, Dustin Rhodes, first son of Dusty Rhodes, well-known wrestler of the 80s and 70s. He started in WCW and, like, just being, like, the son of the American dream and, like, this, like, country boy, good wrestler. Gets to WWE, and this is what Vince gives him.
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey. Twilight 2008. I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Not like here. Here everything is soft and smooth. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones 2002.
This makes sense.
Turkey time. Gobble gobble. Sheely 2003. Killing me won't get you back your goddamned honey. The Wicker Man 2006. Dude.
Where's my car? Dude, where's my car?
Where's my car?
2000.
They're eating her. And then they're gonna eat me.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Trolls 2.
Troll 2, 1990. I did not hit her. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
Hit her.
Oh, hi, Mark. The Room 2003. And you will never forget the name of Goldust.
This does make sense.
Wrestling can often be a cruel, unforgiving business. For every success story, there are dozens more of wrestlers who aren't able to reach their full potential, or who are in the wrong place at the wrong time, or who crash and burn altogether. But sometimes, it all works out okay in the end. Take, for instance, Dustin Rhodes, the son of one of the greatest performers.
Remember this face, remember this build, remember this gimmick.
Nice to meet you.
Because everyone's going to forget that this is how Dustin Rhodes looked for about 2.5 decades.
Wrestling history, he had some big cowboy boots to fill when he first debuted in 1988. What followed was a 31-year career marked with many ups and downs.
This video is old. Dude is still wrestling today. He's 66, and he's doing some of his best work.
Multiple stops in different federations and a wide variety of appearances. By early 2019,
we don't talk about
Rhodes
that.
was virtually forgotten, mired in the lower mid-card of WWE, filling out house show events and managing to make the best of whatever skits the writing team made for him. That is, if he was used at all. Then came AEW's Double or Nothing, when he and his younger brother Cody tore the house down in an old-school, blood-soaked battle that brought the crowd to their feet, then to tears. On that night in Las Vegas, Dustin proved he still has...
Not just, like, for a paycheck. Like, dude is
Welcome,
well off.
really
He also owns his own wrestling company. He also does a lot of backstage for AEW. He doesn't need to wrestle. He wrestles because he's still good at it. Oh, my bad. Lynx is right. He's 56, not 66. My bad. We're doing good. We're going to play Don't Starve Together with Shy, but Shy needs a minute. So I'm showing people who don't know wrestling the history of Goldust, which, yeah, I think it's a good thing to learn.
Some tricks up his sleeve, just another night in a career built on defying expectations. Over the decades, Rhodes has gone under many different aliases, some worse than others. But for most
Black
fans,
Rain.
the story can be told through one of the
Black
most
Rain.
unique and memorable characters of the last 2 generations. This week, we're diving into the WWE career of Goldust, and there is a lot of ground to cover, so here we go. Long before his debut in the black and gold, Dustin first appeared on WWF television in the fall of 1990 to support his father Dusty, after his valet Sapphire had been bought by the $1 Million Man. Just asking questions, but if two of Ted...
Yes, there was a wrestling storyline in 1990 where a rich white man bought off the friend of a black woman, and bought her and her rights. And he already had a black man butler. Wrestling is not subtle.
DiBiase's biggest career moves involved the purchase or servitude of black people. Wouldn't you call that, you know what, let's leave it alone. At this point, young Dustin was basically portrayed as a note-for-note carbon copy of his dad. They might as well have put matching polka dots on him and called him Dusty Jr. We'd have to wait a whole 8 years for that part to happen, though. Dustin's biggest moment in the Federation at this time came at the 1991 Royal Rumble, when he and his father teamed up in a losing effort against Ted DiBiase and Virgil, a match that saw the end of Dusty's run as a full-time wrestler and the beginning of babyface Mike Jones. Rhodes would then head to WCW with his dad, where he had a great run as an upper mid-card babyface. Unlike his closest second-gen counterpart in Eric Watts, Dustin was wise beyond his years in the squared circle and didn't feel like his push was unearned. There's a reason he was called the Natural. His run ended rather
He really is he has always been a talented wrestler. Too bad WWF is going to fuck that up.
Ceremoniously in 1995, when he and Blacktop Bully were fired for their infamous King of the Road match at Uncensored. Why'd they get the axe, you might ask? Not because the entire concept was a crime against humanity or something dumb like that, but because they both went against company policy and bled during the match. Shows what you get for trying to make things interesting. Suddenly out of a job,
it was
Vince McMahon
really
and the World
dumb.
Wrestling Federation came calling. Rather than have Dustin recreate a cowboy persona, Vince threw the 26-year-old a curveball. McMahon described his vision for Goldust, a moniker no doubt inspired by Dusty's longtime nickname of Stardust. Goldust was supposed to be the physical embodiment of Hollywood, flamboyant, eccentric, and androgynous. Dustin jumped at the chance, then immediately looked up the word androgynous in the dictionary.
And my jaw dropped. What did I just get into?
The character's introductory vignettes began airing in September of 1995, featuring Goldust in front of Hollywood landmarks and incorporating lines of dialogue from classic films, completely unrecognizable from the heir apparent of the American dream.
I must let no man think that his star shines brighter than mine.
Goldust finally made his in-ring debut against Marty Jannetty at the October In Your House pay-per-view. Yet despite the bizarre vignettes and his outrageous presentation, the act came off as flat and one-dimensional. Fans still didn't know quite what to make of the fella. All that would change that December, as an aspect was added to Goldust's character that was as controversial and scandalous as any pro wrestling had seen. Goldust began to issue challenges to Intercontinental Champion Razor Ramon in the form of gifts, love letters, and other sexually charged innuendo.
Don't fight it, Chico. Accept it. Revel in it. Let's ooze as one.
While wrestling
Again, WWE is not subtle. The scary gay man.
has certainly had its share of effeminate characters in the past, such as Gorgeous George, Exotic Adrian Street, and Adorable Adrian Adonis, to name a few. Never had a character so blatantly exploited gay stereotypes to this extent. Goldust's apparent lust for Razor was no mere subtext. This was the primary focus of the storyline and the intended source of heat for the angle. In just a few weeks, Goldust went from...
By the way, in WWE or WWF, the wrestlers don't really usually create their storylines. It's a whole table of writers and Vince McMahon. Yeah, 1995, this was still not okay.
Being an ambiguous living Oscar gimmick to a dangerous caricature of an effeminate yet devious and sinister homosexual who preyed on unsuspecting hetero men and wouldn't take no for an answer. Damn, Vince, I know you got burned by Hollywood after No Holds Barred, but is this really the best way to channel that anger? As a match was made for the IC title for the Royal Rumble 1996, Goldust kept his pursuit going, stalking him in the aisle during Razor's matches and zealously genuflecting, presenting him with a teddy bear, and finally revealing a tattoo of a heart with Razor's name on it. In an attempt to add even more sexual ambiguity to the character, Dustin's real-life wife, Terry, made her debut.
Again, the man's not gay. He just played a very scary gay man. And his wife helped. Also, he's Texan.
During their match at the Rumble as Goldust's director, Marlena, modeled after classic film star Marlene Dietrich, who is also known for openly defying sexual norms in her androgynous film roles. Throughout the match, Goldust debuted a new moveset that reflected the new direction of his character, while the crowd howled in shock and disgust.
Yep,
Thanks to
that happened in a match.
1-2-3 Kid, Goldust won the title, and he and Marlena sealed the victory, not with a kiss, but rather a sleazy flick of the tongue. For some reason, "You May Now Lick the Bride" doesn't have the same ring to it, does it? The two men continue their feud to WrestleMania 12, what was originally billed as a Miami street fight.
We're getting into this match. This match is infamous.
Goldust, even though he wouldn't have won back the title. But in a twist of fate whose consequences still ripple through wrestling today, Scott Hall informed WWF management that he'd agreed to Eric Bischoff's generous offer to jump to WCW. And wouldn't you know it, he was informed at a house show the very same weekend that he'd failed a drug test and would have to miss the big Mania payout. With Razor out of the equation, a new opponent was needed for Goldust for Mania, and
You'll
fast.
see.
Enter Rowdy Roddy Piper, playing the role of temporary president
You'll
of the
see
company
why it's
after
infamous.
Vader's attack of then-President Gorilla Monsoon. During an episode of Raw, Goldust invited Piper to his back lot as he attempted to lift Piper's kilt. The Hot Rod responded by slapping...
By the way, so that is a Canadian playing a Scotsman.
slapping Goldie in the face and vowing to make a man out of him at WrestleMania. After
that's a real line.
Brief yet provocative build-up, Piper and Goldust met in a Hollywood backlot brawl, a match that was not only unconventional for the time, but also exposed the fact that Vince McMahon was seemingly unable to correctly pronounce the word brawl.
It started in a Hollywood backlot brawl. Look at this one starting in a Hollywood backlot brawl. And earlier on, Piper was dominating the Hollywood backlot brawl.
In a bit of inventive editing, the first section of the match was taped a week before the live WrestleMania event at the Universal lot. After some back and forth brawling that included Goldust legit hitting Piper with a gold Cadillac, things suddenly turned into a chase scene. But instead of shooting their own material, they simply cut to news footage of the infamous police chase of O.J. Simpson in the white Bronco. It's one
This isn't the only reason it's infamous and cringy.
of the few times in company history that they capitalized on a current event and were actually clever about it. Speaking of which, here's a fun fact. Before this match was made, Piper was apparently penciled in to face a much different opponent at WrestleMania, the recently acquitted O.J. Simpson.
Yep. Yeah.
I got nothing.
I don't believe that
You know what? Neither do I.
Michael Jackson's innocent. I don't believe OJ's innocent. And I don't believe Vader's innocent.
Back live, the two made their way to the Arrowhead Pond for the second portion of the match. The match ended with a barrage of violence by the Hot Scott that ended in several nut shots and Roddy tearing off Goldust's bodysuit to reveal a little nut.
Here's the other infamous scene from this match. Remember, scary gay man from Los Angeles, well, Hollywood.
From Fredericks of Hollywood. Hollywood backlot bra indeed. Though Goldust was thoroughly trounced and embarrassed in that match, his stock couldn't have been higher after WrestleMania 12. In just a few short months, he went from being a strangely undefined character to one of the hottest heels in the business. He did hit a minor speed bump in the form of a brief feud with the Ultimate Warrior, their one and only pay-per-view match ending with Warrior winning by countout. But before Warrior could inform our hero about what did and didn't make the world work, Goldie was able to move on from that feud and start working with The Undertaker. One of the more interesting feuds of this part of his career, the two were like black and gold yin-yangs of each other, similar in size and stature with elaborate entrances. Goldust would lure The Undertaker in with his typical machinations, leading up to their big casket match at In Your House 8, Beware of Dog, the show that infamously fell victim to a severe lightning storm that knocked out the power and the live feed of the event for all but the first and last matches, till Mankind emerged from the casket and helped Goldust. The whole mother-son relationship between Goldust and Mankind was just window dressing for what was essentially a heel partnership. They'd actually replicate the angle 3 years later with the Blue Meanie and Ryan Shamrock, but I'll tell you what, that version didn't make the cover of the magazine.
Yeah. I'll be honest, that was actually kind of funny.
In the show's final segment, after Ahmed Johnson was knocked out by Owen Hart's cast, Goldust stopped the EMTs from loading Ahmed into the ambulance, administering his own version of CPR as Vince reacted in horror on commentary.
What's he got?
Again, Vince and his right staff thought, gay man, funny, gross, ew.
Hey, get away. Get away. Goldust is giving Ahmed. What's he doing?
Goldust taunted his rival for weeks, utilizing a potent combination of gay panic and race baiting, but at King of the Ring 1996, the Sand Ripper prevailed, becoming the first African-American to win the IC Championship. Old Punchy was seemingly earmarked for big things in the company before injuries took their toll. In retrospect, that loss to Johnson was a pivotal moment in Goldust's career. Right after King of the Ring, most of the overt sexual overtones and innuendo were gone from his
No, they were just racist.
Presentation. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Ahmed literally beat the gay out of him.
Right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they kind of... Yeah. Well, he'll get to it.
Backlash from special interest groups led the Federation to make the move, a shift that took years for the character to fully recover from. Without the mannerisms and motivation that finally distinguished the character after his initially ambiguous debut, he once again found himself floating in limbo for months, save for the occasional wild moment here and there. But that would all change after Survivor Series 1996, when he caught Hunter Hearst Helmsley making passes at Marlena.
Triple H, Paul Levesque, the owner of WWE now.
Goldust not only turning face, but fully rejecting the homosexual overtones of his character. Though the LGBT community has come a long way since then, by 1996 it was unheard of for an out gay wrestler, real or otherwise, to be portrayed in the positive light, thus beginning the equivalent of conversion therapy to his character. Unfortunately, this part of his career was just as, if
he could not be a face/good guy if he was gay.
Not more problematic than anything Goldust did as a heel. In a segment the company's in no hurry to glorify in documentaries, Jerry Lawler finally confronted Goldust about the truth regarding sexuality.
Oh, aren't you? What am I? We might want to be right back. Where? No.
Oh! And a bunch of really white cis men are like, fuck yeah, he ain't gay. 1996 was a different time.
Oh, thank God. Everyone, it's okay. He's not gay. Boy, times sure were different, huh?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the face turn didn't do much to get him over in the long run. The fans sat in their hands as he would lose repeatedly to Helmsley in the ring. By the end of this feud, Goldust was a man without an identity, and the future Triple H gained nothing by defeating him. The only silver lining here was that it was this program that saw the debut of...
Rest in peace, Chyna. Chyna died way too young. She was a amazing person, wrestler, and she got so much shit. Rest in peace, Chyna.
Helmsley's bodyguard, Chyna. The Federation tried to right the ship by humanizing and adding some dimensions to the character. Remember the legendary interviews between Mankind and Jim Ross in May of '97 that forever changed the perception of his character? Well, few recall that Ross conducted similar interviews with Dustin and Terry Runnels just weeks before. In another of the WWF's attempts to appear timely and in tune with current pop culture, these interviews were sold as Dustin coming out as himself, much like how Ellen DeGeneres did on her sitcom around this time.
Yeah, remember when people loved Ellen? Yeah. Time flies.
Dustin appeared sans face paint and revealed the struggle of living in his father's shadow and how sympathetic he became to the plight of the LGBT community.
I got so many letters, and I can understand. You know, I kind of know what they're going through now. You know. I
mean, I only get a fraction of the hate that real gay people get, and I can literally step in and out of the character at will, but totally the same thing.
Literally, he's comparing to being in the shadow of his dad as a professional to gay hate in America. Yeah.
We're practically brothers in arms. The interviews served to add layers to Goldust that had been missing since he turned face, but being portrayed as a super hetero family man who wore face paint and a wig...
I think that is his real daughter.
His next major storyline was against Brian Pillman. Injury has kept the loose cannon from being in a full-on singles feud since signing with the company last year, but he made up for it in a huge way by exploiting some real-life drama. Having dated Terry before she and Dustin had married, Pillman used that information against Goldust to get into his head, a rare reversal of fortune since Goldust was once the king of the mind games. Pillman was forced to wear a dress after losing to Goldust at SummerSlam, then demanded a rematch with some wild stipulations. Should Pillman lose, he'd leave the company forever, but if he won, then he'd win...
You know, you could put him in a nice dress.
Marlena's services for 30 days. Goldust refused until Pillman alleged that he was actually the father of Dustin's daughter Dakota, a cheap shot that led to Marlena accepting the terms of the deal. At In Your House, Terry's attempt to interfere backfired, leading to a Pillman victory. Since the Federation was heading full speed into the Attitude Era, it only seemed natural for them to debut Brian Pillman's Triple X Files, a series of video diaries where Brian detailed his sexual escapades with a presumably non-consenting Marlena who was uncomfortable dressed in provocative attire. While the angle was ongoing, Pillman...
Yeah. Do I have to explain why this was bad even for the time? No.
was set to wrestle Dude Love at the Bad Blood pay-per-view that October, a match that never happened as Pillman died in his hotel room the night before.
That's awesome.
With Goldust and
Rest in
Marlena now in
peace, Brian
storyline
Pillman.
limbo, and with Rhodes' character basically neutered after turning babyface, a heel turn was in order. It took place in a sit-down interview format, very similar to the coming out segment earlier in the year. Only this time the outcome was much different, as an angry Dustin lashed out at his wife, admitting he'd fallen in love with someone else during her forced stay with Pillman in a pretty excruciating segment.
You can take this marriage, and you can take Marlena, and you can shove it up your because I've had it up to here with you.
Thus, Luna Vachon was paired with this newly healed Goldust. Much like how Bray Wyatt's morphed from a Cajun cult leader with questionable motives to a kids show host with severe multiple personality disorder, Goldie got really strange during this phase.
Oh, I forgot about this. Oh, I forgot about this. Okay.
Dubbing himself the artist formerly known as Goldust and dressing up in a wide variety of outfits. A neon sub, a Christmas tree, Baby New Year, his own father, a pimp in blackface. Yes, Dustin had all the DLC around this time. It was during this time that Dustin legitimately pitched to Vince McMahon that he get breast implants to stay relevant. Did I mention this was taking place at a time in his life where he wasn't in the best frame of mind? This phase of his career peaked at WrestleMania 14 when he and Luna fought in a mixed tag match with Mark Merrow and Sable. The match actually went pretty well despite the star of the whole thing being untrained, but it was obvious Tafka Goldust was far from the focus of this program. As 1998 rolled on, the character saw even more change and instability. On May 11th, Dustin Rhodes as himself delivered a rant on stage where he blamed Vince McMahon for turning him into an embarrassment, burning his Goldust outfit in a trash can.
I agree with
Despite
him.
the interesting visual, the audience seemed pretty uninterested. Well, except for one guy.
And why? Over a wig?
The loss.
Oh. I love wrestling, but wrestling wasn't always the safe space.
Kept piling up for Dustin as he wrestled as himself. A fleeting hinted association with Steve Austin came and went, and soon Dustin found Jesus and spent weeks praying for the crowd's salvation, in kind of a prototype of what would eventually become Right to Censor's whole shtick.
We can choose to spend our time watching quality programming rather than violent, sensationalistic nonsense.
I ask you, Lord, to please forgive.
Thank you, and God bless.
Oh, the
The
2000s
proceeding was
also
sponsored
had
by
its
the Evangelists Against
cringy
Television, Movies, and Entertainment.
As Dustin spent weeks telling the audience that he was coming back, he soon found himself in the crosshairs of former porn star Val Venus. The horny crosshairs.
Oh my God.
After spending nearly a year exploring the extremes of his character, the Goldust fans knew and loved, or at least something close to it, finally returned at Judgment Day and vanquished Val with one of the biggest dick kicks of all the times. The crowd was happy to see the return of the black and gold, a welcome relief from the kind of haphazard booking that would have killed lesser talent dead in the water. Though still strange in his own right, he wasn't doing anything that caught the ire of parents groups. Lord knows Blue Dust was weird enough for the both of them. Goldust even won the Intercontinental title for a third and final time before eventually leaving the company in May of 1999. Dustin soon returned to WCW as himself, after a minor hiccup, calling himself the American Nightmare.
Yeah, we don't talk about Seven.
Years before his brother would take that mantle. The Federation's buyout of WCW put an end to his run there, but it wasn't long before Goldust came back to the WWF, joining the Godfather and Mr. Perfect as a high-profile return to the Rumble match in 2002. Coming in at number 2, his return was so well received, what was meant to be a one-shot deal soon turned into another contract. After a slapdash return feud with RVD, things got a lot more interesting for Old Gold as he began his unlikely tag team with Booker T. The pairing ended up being a huge turning point for both men, as the comedic chemistry between the two was impossible to ignore.
And there's some good shit today.
Sketches in hotel rooms and 7-Elevens and wearing silly costumes.
These were
two are one of the highlights of
These were fun. I'm not gonna lie. Go back, watch some of these. They were fun.
Raw during this time period. On a personal note, these two would keep me laughing so I wouldn't cry during all those 20-minute Triple H promos. And God bless him, Goldust was even nice enough to add some levity to that god-awful Katie Vick storyline with Kane.
Who in the hell have sex with a dead body? Come on.
After months of coming up short, Goldust and Booker finally hit the jackpot winning the tag titles at Armageddon in December of 2002. It was a genuinely emotional moment that defied the comedic origins of the team and proved you can get the fans to invest in even the most ridiculous of characters if you give them a good reason to care about them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the run was short-lived and the team was split up soon after, but the pairing was so popular it clearly inspired Goldust to try and catch that lightning again over the years.
Interesting makeup. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Booker was wide open for a singles run against Triple H for the championship at WrestleMania. You know what? Let's just leave it at that. Goldust's character would soon take an interesting...
That's for a story for another time, the Reign of Terror, as it's known.
...turn as a backstage beating by Evolution in February of 2003 ended with him being electrocuted after being thrown into a breaker box. This traumatic event led to him suffering from what could best be described as plausibly deniable Tourette syndrome.
The fans have supported me through thick and thin.
Yeah, if you think that WWE was also using gay people as a punching line, don't worry, they also love using disabilities as a punching line.
You know, that's all I can say.
Just take a look around, you know. Get duffel bag. Hey, blue one. Yeah, damn, that looks good. Like twins.
Though tacky in concept, it was actually pretty funny in execution. A backstage rib turned into comic fodder on television. But like so many other storylines in wrestling, the stuttering gimmick only worked best in the wrestling bubble. His much maligned appearance on the Howard Stern show in March of 2003 proved that.
Well, it's not Tourette's. I went to the doctors. You know, all they know is some kind of some neurological disorder. You know.
Hi, my name is Mark. I work with the Tourette's Advocacy Action Network.
Okay.
We've been trying to get a meeting with you through the WWE, and you've refused to respond to any of our calls.
What does it have to do with it? I don't have Tourette's.
Well,
cheer.
Despite this new character tweet, Goldust lost some of his on-air luster, being used less and less on TV until his contract was unceremoniously dropped at the end of the year. Over the next several years, Goldust would come and go frequently, hopping back and forth between WWE, The Independents, TNA, something Black Rain. He even had a brief run as a backstage producer until getting the axe for overseeing a tag team match that saw the primetime players nearly kill Yoshitatsu in the ring.
Ooh.
For a time, it looked like he was trying to break Marty Jannetty's record for the most hirings and firings by one guy. But then Goldust's fortunes finally changed in the fall of 2013. After his brother Cody was fired...
Which, by the way, we've seen this already because we've covered the Authority era.
For speaking up against the Authority and Triple H, Goldust returned on the September 9th edition of Raw to face Randy Orton to get his younger brother's job back. When Goldust failed, his father, the legendary Dusty Rhodes, came back to TV to fight for his son's job. In a moment that's far more interesting than the Big Show knocking him out moments later, Dusty famously made Stephanie McMahon talk to his hand, which resulted in about zero promo time for the rest of the Dream's life. It all came to a head at Battleground 2013 when the Rhodes brothers took on The Shield with all the Rhodes' jobs at stake. In one of the best and most emotional tag matches WWE had seen in ages, Goldie and Cody prevailed to a tremendous ovation.
I'm not gonna lie, this does look like a good match.
Wrestling, and one of the few times Goldust was in a compelling angle that had nothing to do with the more crude aspect of his character. The two brothers would have more success as a tag team, with Cody playing both himself and the polarizing Stardust gimmick. The old Dusty references coming full circle. All they needed was for Virgil and Akeem to come back to TV, and the reference loop would be complete before Stardust would violently break up the team in February of 2015, resulting in a heartbreaking final storyline appearance for Dusty. With the timing of this build, you'd think a brother versus brother match at WrestleMania was a no-brainer. I mean, Lord knows fans have been fantasizing about that matchup for years at this point, but it turns out that match was never really on the table.
It was never going to happen. It was never slated to happen. I get asked this question so much that I'm always like, man, I feel like people don't believe me.
What we got instead was a boring match at Fastlane the month before Mania with a finish that really went against what Goldust himself had promised.
Tonight, I'm not leaving that ring until I bring my brother Cody home.
Ooh, sounds intense. So what do you end up doing?
Just by watching Goldust. Snap bear. Here we go. May have him here. Shoulders down and... But did he get him? Wow, that was so
What?
He got him.
Bullshit.
Well, maybe quick roll-up losses mean more to evil, cosmic, comic book villains. And who am I kidding? That fucking sucked.
Yeah.
The storyline was dropped like a bad habit after Fastlane, and that was the last real meaningful angle Goldust ever had in the company. He'd fall into a lengthy and popular run as one half of the Golden Truth until he inexplicably turned on R-Truth in May of 2017. The breakup led to a seemingly endless series of promos and counter-promos between the two, with Goldust apparently returning to his creepy cinephile days of old. But after a nothing match that only went a few minutes, the angle evaporated. To show you how little the company cared about this feud, the two were involved in a battle royal several weeks later and didn't trade blows once. Aside from a one-off match where he wrestled as himself for the first time in the company since the Born Again gimmick, and a really good match on Raw with John Cena, Goldust stayed in the ether until he requested his release in March of 2019, clearing a path for his run with Cody in AEW later in the year. And for now at least, that's where the story ends. It's not inaccurate.
So update. Since then, Dustin has become TNT champion, tag team champion, and triples champion, all at the same time. He's lost them, but like that's still like impressive, and like again, 56, like good on him. Oh wait, there's more.
To say the Goldust character has a complicated legacy. On the one hand, it's one of the most unique and enduring characters Vince McMahon ever cooked up, one that probably wouldn't have lasted nearly as long as it did if it weren't for the man in the bodysuit. On the other hand, he's a major player in a time of dramatic change.
Dustin Rhodes
but no matter
deserves
how
a lot of
problematic
respect.
gimmick, Dustin Rhodes was always able to make it entertaining. He had an uncanny ability to make much of WWE's comedy actually funny, which deserves an award of its own. I think it's fascinating that some aspects of his character that were meant to exploit people's fear and misunderstanding of queer people were later used as comedic elements that would eventually normalize him. Considering the LGBT community is still fighting for relevance at some level today, Goldust's evolution is nothing short of moving mountains. And while I've spent several minutes extolling Dustin Rhodes' accomplishments with the character, I haven't even touched on the man's personal redemption story. Rhodes fought an addiction to alcohol and pain pills for years in his prime, not to mention his issues with his fluctuating weight. But for the last several years, Dustin's cleaned up his act and changed his entire way of life, which has no doubt helped contribute to his in-ring longevity. As I mentioned at the top of this video, the first half of Dustin's story is similar to so many others in wrestling history, so you should absolutely be commended for breaking the cycle. Though we may never see him wrestle again in WWE, he's clearly a lock for the Hall of Fame whenever the company is willing to give him that distinction.
Yes,
his versatility,
100%.
historical importance, and the ability to change the times are just a few reasons why Goldust will go down as one of the most unusual, hilarious, and memorable characters in the annals of WWE. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it, comment below.
Yeah. Dustin Rhodes, man. Just imagining what he could have done if he got a real push at his like prime. I just want to show like what he's doing like recently. Okay. This should work.
Trying to push his advantage. But instead, running right into the right arm. Got him caught. And that means he's in the eye of the crossroads. Is Priest. Dustin. Trying to push his advantage.
Again, 55, 56 doing shit like this.
As a dude who had one knee reconstructed.
I just want to show this off as well.
My honor to welcome in for the first time the new TNT champion, the natural Dustin Rhodes.
I also love his theme song.
Crowd never too late to start again at a record-setting all-in. Not many people gave the natural much of a chance of winning the TNT champion of the two-time Grand.
So again, TNT, ROH tag team, ROH triples champion, all at the same time last year. This man is a workhorse.
Father kept on stepping and upset the favorite. Carl Fletcher pinning the former TNT champion Daniel Garcia to add a third championship to his stash.
Hey, thanks for checking out this video. Check me out on Twitch, SilverDFanng, 2 N's in Fang. Check me out on Twitter and Blue Sky under the same name. Also TikTok. Have a great night.